How do I know if my SSD drive supports trim? Windows 7 has support for the trim command, which should help ensure that the performance of an SSD drive remains good through its life. How can you tell if a given SSD drive supports trim? See here for a description of trim. Also the following from a Microsoft presentation. Microsoft implementation of trim feature is supported in Windows 7. NTFS will send down delete notification to the device supporting trim file system operations. Format, delete, truncate, compression OS internal processes. For example, snapshot, volume manager 3 optimization opportunities for the device, enhancing device row leveling by eliminating merge operation for all deleted data blocks, making early garbage collection possible for fast write, keeping devices unused storage area as much as possible, more room for device row leveling.
An answer to this question was published in the comments section on the Engineering 7 blog post about SSD in Windows 7. To find out if Windows 7 is sending the trim command, you can run the following command from an elevated prompt. And how to interpret this based on a comment. If sutil reports that disable delete notify is 0, then trim is enabled. The feature is sometimes referred to using different names. Trim == delete notification == unused clusters. Hint: the setting is written in terms of disabling something because we like to use values of 0 for defaults. Have trim enabled according to this setting, which you do, means that the file system will send trim commands down the storage stack. The file system doesn't actually know whether this command will be supported or not at a lower level. When the disk driver receives the command, it will either act on it or ignore it. If you know for sure that your storage devices don't support trim, you could go ahead and disable trim, enable disable delete notify, so the file system won't bother to send down these notifications. However, sending down the notifications is pretty lightweight and I haven't seen any performance improvement by disabling them, so I don't recommend disabling this setting. If you have an SSD which does support trim, then you definitely don't want to disable it, because there are some performance gains to be had for leaving the setting in its default form. It seems that this still won't tell you if the drive and/or firmware for the drive supports trim. Sigh.
Download and install the Intel SSD Toolbox. If your drive is not an Intel SSD, the only option available will be View Drive Information. Click that. Scroll down to Word 169, Bit 0, Data Set Management Supported. If this is 1, you have trim. If 0, you don't.
The easiest way to know if your SSD supports trim is to use Crystal Disk Info.
Sending the disable delete notify command to the SSD only checks if the trim command is being sent. The drive, of course, needs to support trim. The best way of doing that is to go to the manufacturer's website and check in the detailed spec for your drive.
If you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing.